Does height matter? Can a player's height determine his all-time ranking and respect level in the NBA? To the average consumer, you'd say something along the lines of, maybe not the most important, or, of course not. But in the world of overanalyzation, this is an open discussion, so let's take a look back and truly uncover the answer to that question. Wilt and Bill were the 60s. Kareem killed his opponents night in and night out with his patented skyhook in the 70s. Magic and Bird had a firm grasp on the 80s. MJ, as we all know, had the 90s in a chokehold. The man won 6 rings in that time. Crazy, I know. His disciple Kobe Bean Bryant was the face of the 2000s, winning 4 rings in the span of 9 years. He even won a few of those rings after his superstar counterpart left the team. That's pretty damn impressive to say the least. Not many players get the chance to do that. The 2010s, well, the 2010s is where things start to get a bit hazy. Who was the lead man in the 2010s in your opinion? KD, LeBron? I mean, there aren't many players you could put in that elite company. Many of you would easily give LeBron the badge of honor without taking a second out of your day to think about it, but not me. It isn't that clear cut, not in the slightest. Now, before I get too far ahead, I must say, the premise of this entire video came from an unorthodox place. In one of my recent videos, I gave the statement, passing of the torches doesn't happen if a player isn't at least the same size or bigger than LeBron. A few people in the coveted comment section got a bit triggered, just the way I like it, but one individual in particular managed to break through my robust equilibrium. I'll be honest, it surprised me and piqued my interest all at the same time, but that takes me back to the initial question. Who was the lead man in the 2010s, and does height factor into that decision? The answer is Wardell, Steph, and Curry. The reason this commenter or anyone else would so easily say LeBron over Steph and Curry could be because mainstream media would lead you to believe so. In my opinion, it's because Steph Curry is a small three-point shooting point guard. Now, Steph Curry is the average NBA point guard. I'm not talking in terms of his play on the court, but specifically his measurables. He stands at 6'2" and 185 pounds, which lines up almost identically with the average height and weight of an NBA point guard. With most of these guys falling between 6'2" and 6'4", people, more often than not, tend to agree that this size is the proper range for a point guard. But if we take a look back at history, every lead man for their respective eras were tall and ball dominant. Wilt and Bill were 7'1" and 6'11", Kareem stood at a staggering 7 feet tall, Magic and Bird were both 6'9", MJ is 6'6", and so was Kobe. All of those guys are 6'6" and up. Following that pattern, now you see why it'll be easy for LeBron James to fall in line. He's 6'8", and that right there is the issue, for Steph Curry at least. People following the pattern. In 2019, we'd see Kawhi Leonard lead the Toronto Raptors to win a championship over the injury-riddled Golden State Warriors. Impressive, I know. What's even more impressive is how welcoming and joyful the fans and the media were to deem him better than LeBron and the face of the NBA for some. For some players, it takes half their careers to get spoken about in such high regard like that. For Kawhi, it took only that singular season for some to already put him in the same category with LeBron James. However, let's not forget, the circumstances it took Kawhi to get that ring is almost identical to what Steph and Curry had to go through to win a championship. We all know how the story goes. Both key superstar starters for the Cavs and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love would get badly injured. Kyrie a broken kneecap, and Kevin Love would dislocate his shoulder. It killed any momentum the team had heading into the finals, and in due time, they would indeed lose that year. Fast forward to 2019, and the Warriors were facing the exact same problems, if not worse. KD had torn his Achilles making a cut to the basket, and Klay Thompson had torn his ACL going up for a contested dunk. It ended any chances for a comeback. But hold on. Only when Steph Curry won back in 2015, everyone quickly discredited him and the Warriors, deeming him not better than LeBron or the face of the NBA, but the bad guy. Coincidence? I think not. The deeper we go into this never-ending rabbit hole, the crazier and more uncanny things get. The most blatantly transparent case of height mattering in the worst way possible happened way back in 2013 when KD was getting coined the runner-up to LeBron and possibly being better than him if he kept the course. That would all make sense if KD at the time had some sort of hardware to back up those bold claims made by fans in the media. He didn't. The only reputable thing he had to cling on to was 4 scoring titles, a few All-Star Game selections, and oh yeah, his 6'11" frame. Height matters, and it matters most when the NBA is in the midst of finding its new titan. You know it, I know it, and so does the NBA. Steph isn't the Reggie Miller of MJ's era. He isn't the Ray Allen of Kobe's 2000s era. He's more so the Larry Bird of the 80s, the Kobe Bryant of the 2000s, the Kareem of the 70s, the LeBron James of the 2010s. But he's 7 inches shorter. The bifurcations of the new age sports media has ushered in an unprecedented age where every player has its own separate cult-like vocal fan base. Welcome to the age of the NBA Superstan, where the player you support is now fundamentally tied to your identity. Engaging with the NBA Superstan is now part and parcel of enjoying any live-action sports event. Most Superstans are kept in check by the limited accomplishments of their respective player, but occasionally you'll see one that gets completely out of control. These are evolved Superstans. We call these bronzexuals. It's a fog-like mental state me and the rest of the basketball community have created to where grown adult males tend to drool out of their mouth over another grown adult male they've grown too attached to, not in a socially acceptable way. This is the state of LeBron fans, so you have to understand, when I say things like their champion wasn't, in my opinion, the face of the 2010s, they repent at the idea that maybe, just maybe, there might be a player not named Michael Jordan closing the gap. So just sit back and ask yourself the question, what more did LeBron do to be deemed better than Steph and Curry in the 2010s? Well, you know, LeBron made it to 7 straight finals and won 3 rings in that span of time, right? Well, to that, I'll say this. Steph Curry went to 3 less NBA finals and still ended up with the same amount of rings at the end of the decade. Finals appearances are cool, but they didn't really add any substantial value to LeBron's legacy. Basketball is the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists, so to give all the credit to one singular player, it's pretty nonsensical. But if championships and appearances were the deciding factor on who came out on top out of Steph and LeBron, well, look no further than this man right here to settle that debate. 7 straight finals appearances? Well, how about 8 straight championships? To the average consumer, you'd say the 60s were a decade ran by unathletic white part-time plumbers and firefighters. Well, that just doesn't make sense. Try telling that to a player like Bailey Howell. In that decade alone, the man averaged 20 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists. The average NBA player today couldn't average 20 points per game for an entire month if their life depended on it, let alone an entire decade. But that's not all. Walt Bellamy, a name you've probably never heard of, but I'm here to tell you the man was an undeniable game changer back in the 60s. Don't believe me? Well, you don't have to. Just go ask your grandparents about him. In the 1961-62 season, he averaged 31 points per game and 19 boards. That was unheard of, if your name wasn't Wilt Chamberlain. But in the name of championships and finals appearances, no one has ever been able to break or tie the record of 7 straight title wins in 7 years. Again, that's 7 straight final wins in 7 years, all while averaging 18 points per game and at a minimum grabbing 22 boards per game. You know the man's name, Bill Russell. 7 titles in 7 years, but no one gives him the respect he's earned. Why? If winning 11 chips with one team can't get you any respect, by analysis and fans, why does 8 straight finals appearances get you such high praise? If winning a championship is the highest achievement a player can obtain, why does Bill Russell being so good he won 11 rings get swept under the rug? But having a losing finals record is, in your respective decade, held to such high standard?
Will come in. LeBron James congratulating some of the Warriors, and we'll get a standing ovation here at Quicken Loans Arena.
Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, yin and yang, 2 opposing forces which complement and complete each other. Although Magic and Bird defy each other, each contains a piece of the other fundamentally embedded within. Together, the opposing forces exist in a state of balanced parity. Numerous examples of this exist when discussing Magic and Bird, such as college championship matchups, NBA championship matchups, MVP votes, the eye test, but perhaps the most captivating application of yin and yang exists in the realm of the NBA era leader debate. The same topics that said why Magic might have been better than Bird in the 80s, or vice versa, are still alive and well, and they apply to some of the most captivating players we see play in the league today, specifically LeBron and Stephen Curry. Bird beat Magic in '84, Bron beat Steph in 2016. Magic beat Bird in '85, Steph beat Bron in 2017. LeBron averaged 25, 6, and 7 in 2015, but the MVP award that year went to Stephen Curry. Magic averaged 18, 6, and 12 in '86, but the MVP award went to Larry Bird. You see where this is going? The parallels in their rivalry are scary applicable to this LeBron and Steph 2010s take, and the only right way to look at this is not to rank them outright better than one another, but in 1A, 1B format, with Steph and Curry being 1A, of course.
Cleveland ahead to Curry. Curry sets, fires, puts it up.